These 5 hot takes, yeah!
Okay, so we're back with Kevin Griffin, and I've got 5 songs that I think are incredible. And I'm gonna let you, Kev, kind of speak to them. You just tell me about them. I'm gonna tell you the title. You give me the thoughts. Okay, here we go. First one. This time of year.
This time of year, it's about the first cool day of fall, the first hint of fall that blows
Yes.
down from the north into the south, and makes you think of football and school and the first girlfriend or boyfriend, and it's melancholy mixed with hopefulness. And it was written at a rest area when we broke down in
No.
Canton, Mississippi, on the way to the LSU Ole Miss football game. Yeah.
You are kidding me.
No, yeah.
God, I wish I could. That song. I mean, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this also in your intro, but that song is probably in my top 20 of all time.
Dude, thank you so much.
And you know why? Because music does its own job, but I think life has a lot to do with why we love music, and that's a really dumb understatement. What I mean is the cross. When music hits at seminal moments, both of them get amplified. So the song becomes more important, the moment becomes more important. But that was like. That song when I bought that record was like right as I was moving to Tennessee in high school, and that's anyway. But I love that song.
Well, thank you so much. And look, and people often come to me and they usually preface what they say with, I know this is going to sound stupid, but, and they'll say like that, your song so-and-so, or this time of year often they'll say it takes me back to my freshman year, blah, 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 blah. And I always say to somebody, you're giving me the biggest compliment
That's
I
right.
could ever have.
That's right. That's right.
Because that's the way I feel about my favorite song. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And never say it's stupid because it's awesome.
Well, these are all that to me. So what about Rewind?
Wow. Rewind was written for the Friction Baby sessions. It was right at the end. And I didn't feel like I wanted something that just was poppier, that felt more like a hit. At least that's where my head was. And Rewind was about a specific mixtape that a buddy of mine, Clark Marty, made for me that had all this like psychobilly songs by the Cramps and Flat Duo Jets. And there was this girl that I had a crush on, and I gave her the mixtape, and we would ride around in her car listening to it all over. And we got and I was driving her car one time, and she was putting makeup on, and I had to slam on the brakes, and she smeared the lipstick across her face, and that lyric is in the song. But it's just about how a mixtape or a group of songs or a song becomes the soundtrack to your life, and that's what Rewind is about. And wanting to go back to that time, but not being able to, and then using the metaphor of a cassette tape.
But you nail it, and I think that's. I feel like I have a few skills that I lack greatly in songwriting. One of them is the ability to do exactly that. If you give me that title and been like, write this, it would be so half-baked or obvious, and you just stick the landing so hard on that song, I feel like.
Well, thank you very much. But it was funny because I just wasn't. It becomes harder and harder the longer you write, just to write something innocently and not to try to be overt about it, but that song was just fell out. But it was just a story, man, about a mixtape. I wanted to write a song about a mixtape because mixtapes were such precious things to us that, now I guess you have your playlist, you could share a playlist, but there was nothing better than a cassette mixtape that you hand wrote and you put little hearts and smiley faces, and you did it for a girl, you did it for your best friend, and it was just such a personal gift to somebody.
Because it took a lot of effort, which these days I don't know. What about Collide?
Collide started with the title. I knew that Collide was just an amazing title. It conjured in my head so many images, and it was just so chock full of promise. And I could not write the song that lived up to the title. And I tried to write a rock song and then like a singer-songwriter song. And then I heard Bruce Springsteen, Secret Garden, and the chord progression and how it just had this one sustaining note, and it was just the descending chord progression. And the Collide one isn't that chord progression, but just the form and that idea, that whole picture, that scene that it painted. I was like, that's the Collide template. And so I picked up the guitar and started writing it. I wrote the chorus to Collide, and then I was like, oh my God, this is a hit chorus. And then the next week I was writing with Howie Day at my studio in New Orleans, This was in 2005 before Hurricane Katrina came and destroyed the city. And I played the song for Howie, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is my Crash."
No.
Yeah, and he knew this. We both knew this was like a Dave Matthews Crash level kind of song, you know. And then so we wrote the verses together, and they were very Howie-esque, the verses, because there's a lot of non sequiturs, you know, lyrically. And then we tweaked the chorus together, and that was a great collaboration on a song.
What a great song. That song is such a good song.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I love too. I think the production of that one is such a massive.
It's so. Oh, let me tell you. So that part, it was produced by Youth, who is a guy who did a lot of stuff in the early '90s. He was in a band called Killing Joke, I believe, in the '80s, kind of post-punk band. But that part, the that, other than the string part, they really aped the demo I did. And that vocal hooks. Just speaking of hooks, I was like, I knew I wanted to do a little ear candy, because that song starts with a double first verse, right?
Yeah.
Just like the song Good Duck, the double first verse. And I wanted to put some ear candy to hang our hats on. And I was like, what about we do the and then let me get a Mellotron flute sample and play it along. And then it just had that weird, what is that sound kind of quality. And our only stumbling block, we finished the demo, and I was like, wait a second, am I ripping off Paula Cole, I Don't Want to Wait? Because she has.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we went and was like, no, we're good.
We're good. All right, what about At the Stars?
At the Stars was inspired by a Loudon Wainwright song. Because he plays this, what is this? G, okay, G, and you go down.
07, major 7.
Yeah, so it just. And I just heard he has a song called Motel Room Blues, I think. That's such a plaintive, kind of Harry Nilsson-esque chord.
Yeah.
And that sent me on my way. I was like, oh my God, this reminds me of just being with somebody you're in love and infatuated with, and you don't want the night to end, and let's just disappear up the coast and not have our parents tell us what to do, and be in this moment and never let it end. And that's where At the Stars, and it was literally this girl I was in love with, she was kind of crazy, and one time we were driving, and she rolled the window down and set up on the door.
Oh my gosh.
So she would sit, she was facing me and her knees were facing me, but her body was above, out of the car, yelling and screaming at the stars, you know? And so
that is amazing.
And that image, you know, and it just stuck with me, and just about not wanting to bend to other people's idea of what you should be and who you should be and where you're going in your life. And at this, so that's what the inspiration of the song. And then Travis just came up with that drum beat, which is so propulsive and unique and cool. And then it was the production of Malcolm Byrne.
Who's a freaking genius.
Malcolm Byrne did the Hatter's Your Garden Girl album. He is a protege of Daniel Lanois and a great producer. He won a Grammy for Best Americana Album with Red Dirt Girl with Emilia Harris. And he brought this murky. He mixed it too. It's really compressed. It's a funky sounding recording. And then the piece de resistance, and going full circle, I was such a fan of Jeff Buckley Grace. I found out who did the string arrangements on that album, which are epic. They're like Paul Buckmaster.
Oh, they're incredible. They're incredible.
And it was a guy named Carl Berger. And Carl Berger was a string arranger who lived in Woodstock, New York. And what he was really known for in the jazz world was a award-winning vibraphonist. Because of that, we made the album in New Orleans. We went up to Dreamland Studios in Woodstock, New York. We mixed the album. We finished recording it. We did all the string parts and sessions in this Dreamland studio, which is this big church. And Carl Berger came in with the string section from people who came up from New York City, all players in Broadway shows. And we had the most amazing string sessions there, and so the convergence of that song with Travis's drumming, that kind of 90s hyper compressed mix with Carl Berger's strings, made this iconic song At the Stars. To this day, it just sounds so good, and it's why it's one of fans' favorite Better Than Ezra song.
You just nailed this, but I think to me it's that really amazing convergence of all the right things at the right time. A great song. I think a really iconic guitar part, what you did, it has, so you have a little hook that's really good, met with a great song, and then the production and everything about it is right. And I love those moments.
Thank you so much. And that big 90s bridge.
Oh my gosh. There we are.
The bridges in the 90s were just massive.
Huge.
They were just like drums. I remember telling Travis, our drummer, I was like, play more drums. No, make it more Keith Moon.
Yeah.
Make it more. He's like, which wasn't his thing he would normally do. And then we would do that. And then we're like, yes.
Yeah.
Now I almost laugh at some, like the bridge on Lifetime. Now when we play it live, I just kind of laugh. I was like, oh my God, this is Time Machine to the 90s.
Well, and so it's funny you say that song because that's my last one is Lifetime. And I want to say this. I'm going to come in with a hot take on this. I really think that song is, I grieve so heavily that song didn't get the radio international. That song to me is just, I heard that song and I was like, I remember feeling this a few times as like before I really knew what I was doing musically. And it happened with two songs, a few more, but the two I remember really clearly were I heard Black Balloon by Goo Goo Dolls. And I remember thinking, I just know that's going to be a hit. You know, I think I was still in high school. And I just remember thinking like, I don't know anything about music, but when I hear that song, I know it's a hit. I remember hearing that with Lifetime and going like, oh, dude, here we go. Better than this, here we go. But to me, those songs are very akin because of the string part. But it's got some of the rewind. It's got some of that story, some of that same sort of music-centric story. The REM tape was playing,
Oh, yeah.
But I hear Lifetime, and it really, I'd put it on my like 10 songs that I wish if I could time travel, I would go back and be like, no, I'm going to put this in the right guy's desk that has to play the right thing at the right time.
Lifetime was really cool because it was at this time for me writing songs where I had this aha epiphany moment where I was like, oh, I don't have to just write about my own life. I can, my own experience is always going to inform the lyrics, but I can write fiction. I can write these narratives where I'm in it or inform it, but I can just make up a whole story. And the lyrics were, I had just heard about how Graham Parsons, the great, from Flying Burrito Brothers, how when he passed away, famously his friend stole his casket out of cargo at LAX, and they drove it out to Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, and they set it on fire when the sun came.
What?
Yeah, there's a whole book and a movie, Graham Theft Auto, about them stealing his casket. And it was such a crazy romantic story, and I'm sure a lot of embellishment has happened over the years. But I love that idea of, it was just so romantic. And then I was like, well, I'd lost somebody in high school, and so I just kind of wove in Graham Parsons and losing her, and this story of friends stealing the urn of ashes from a wake at a funeral and taking it to where you just kind of grew up, and you had these moments at the beach and you're listening to REM as the sun comes up. And so that was just like this really great moment writing that song. But going back, there's so many songs. It really kind of hurt for a while when you knew a song was a hit, but it didn't happen. And then later you realize, oh man, it makes you appreciate the songs that are hits that much more, because man, you're going to write songs that were every bit as good and hooky and worthy of being a hit. But it's this weird, to use this word convergence again, it's this weird alchemy of chance, the right label, manager, the PD at the radio station who happened to put it on for some reason, and when that happens, you thank God, you're just grateful, but it has to be enough at some point to say, it's just a great song. Mm-hmm. You knew it could have been, but your fans love it. I get to speak to somebody like you about it. But yes, I thought that's why we did it twice.
Yeah.
In 2001, we put it on Closer, and it was a slower, kind of looser version. And then the label we were with in 2005 said, you've got to re-record this song. This song is a hit. And then they went bankrupt when they were putting it out. But so it used to sting because people would say that, that should have been a hit. You're like, man, don't say that. But then you just get to like, yeah, man, it should have been. but I love the song and fans love it.
Well, and there's such a thing I've had to realize in my career as hits for your fans.
Oh yeah, man.
They don't do the global job of that, but it does for the people that already listen, and it just cements even more their affection in another song that they go like, oh, here's another song I love by the band I love.
Exactly. And there's something to be, it's nice to be someone's best kept secret or someone's favorite band that everyone else doesn't like. Now, as the artist, we wish we were Coldplay or insert massive band. But then when I think about, whoa, I'm getting to sit here and talk to you, 30 years on and doing a career where that's what I do. It's just like, yeah, I'm just thankful.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Brother, anytime. Now I'm going to come knocking.
Come a knocking.
Devil gets his due.
There's 5 hot takes, yeah!